Big shouts to Camilla for making this possible, because we're on camera. Shout out to the family in Missouri. Shout to the artist Mike back east. Y'all made this possible. Good to be here. I drove all the way out here from Philly. Call attention to the elephant in the room, the COVID, the Rona, the vid. A lot of things are changing in the world. Seeing a lot of social change. Seeing a lot of financial jobs. A lot of good stuff happening. But there's also some stuff, that I'm seeing that's just not landing. Some of the changes are a little tone deaf. Like I noticed recently, Petco. Petco's lost a lot of money in the downturn in the economy, right? They not as many people buying hamsters and gecko food, right? So they found a partner to work with, Arby's. So now Arby's is going to be in every Petco in the United States. And now Arby's has all the meats. It's a win-win. Yeah. Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is another one, man. Chick-fil-A. They've lost a little money, and they're looking for that sort of McDonald's in every Walmart kind of situation. They're looking for an outpost where they can, provide some clean food, Christian ideology. So they found a new partner as well. So it turns out Chick-fil-A's are going to be in strip clubs all across the United States. Yeah. But they'll still be closed on Sundays because you got to stick to your ideology. Got to stick to your guns, literally. Yeah, chimney sweeps. Oh, we haven't heard from those guys in a while, huh? Chimney sweeps have lost a lot of money, due to the uptick in condos and in projects in the hood and the downturn in, houses with chimneys, right? I don't know. I live in a big city. I don't see chimneys, right? So they've got a new revenue stream going. Chimney sweeps have gotten into colonoscopies. Right? Seems like a natural progression, right? Mm-hmm. By the way, that's not sit on my face. Serial killers is another one, man. Anybody, any serial killers in the audience tonight? No? We'll find you. Don't worry. But no, serial killers, I'm just trying to be woke here a little bit. They've gotten a bad rap for a little while. It's not that, they're just trying to live their best life while thinning the herd a little bit. Doing their thing, right? Well, here's the thing. So, serial killers, there's a new therapy in social justice circles. It's called piñata therapy for serial killers. They get the instant gratification of the kill, but they die of gorging themselves on sugary food like the rest of us. Yay, lethal diabetes, right? Woo! It's a more humane form of capital punishment. Oh, here's the last one that I've noticed recently. Pro-lifers and pro-choicers, right? Pro-lifers and pro-choicers. These people got a little tense up in here. It's okay. I'm not here to offend. I'm here to tell jokes. So, pro-lifers, but they've switched sides lately, I think. So, pro-choicers, I am with you. My body, my choice. Unless it's wearing a mask. And life does not begin at conception, but corona begins at perception, right? Burn, right? Yeah. Pro-lifers too, man. They're pretty much pro-choice on masks. But I think they've waved the white flag on what it actually means to be pro-life. We're pro-life during the third trimester, but if you get corona down the birth canal, you're on your own, No stimulus bailout for you, little piper. Get a job, you freeloader, and learn the language while you're at it. Kids, pro-lifers, I'm not here to judge. My parents are pro-lifers. They are. A lot of people are. They're just, probably just trying to do their job, making sure people have kids, going through the motions because of peer pressure, Keep the baby. I don't want to. Keep the baby. You're going to go to hell. You're bad. Okay, fine. I'll keep the baby. But I'll make the kid's life a living hell since I'm so miserable. My parents were pretty miserable growing up. Yeah, they were, which made me kind of reconsider the whole pro-life thing. And if my parents really wanted me, it's all good. I've tested this joke out before. I'm not the only one. I think a lot of people wonder, do my parents want me? I think I'm not the only one. And I think I've got a good gauge to figure out whether or not at least my parents wanted me. So here's how I know. Age 6, we were living in the hood in Trenton, New Jersey, right? Living in the hood. And we had just gotten back from church where I had played the feisty role of O in Noel, who needed a healthy reminder of the reason for the season of the church kids' Christmas play, right? And, so we had just gotten back, and within a span of several hours, I went from O to oh no really quickly. So as I was crossing the street in front of our one-bedroom palace in Trenton, I got hit by a car doing about 25 miles per hour. Now, I hit the pavement, my head hit the pavement first, and I blacked out for a few seconds. And when I came to, I distinctly remember hearing my mother in one direction coming at me, screaming, "My baby, my baby, which was kind of just her voice anyway. But you know, she was like a pro-lifer who got it. You know, she was like one of those. But my dad was kind of like a pro-lifer who was like kind of going through the motions, right? Because I saw him out of the corner of my other eye, and he was his arms across. He was standing next to my neighbor, and I distinctly heard him say, "You win some, you lose some. We've got two others." I think he was hoping I was a 6-year-old miscarriage. Didn't have the heart to do it himself. Ooh, burn, Josh. Self-burn. Ouch. That was a groaner. But, you know, I kind of had a rough go of it as a kid. I did. You know, we went to church. We went to 5 services every week. And I went to school there every day as well, which kind of sucked because I didn't really like my parents' religion. I kind of hated it, you know. And we also lived in the hood, as I mentioned. And that was dangerous for a little white kid with the body dimensions of a Mr. Potato Head, you know. I had a big head, you know. I've had the same size head my entire life. I think I just grew into it like last week. Yeah, but I wasn't allowed outside because my mom was like, it's dangerous. You can't go out there. So I hated my life. I was like, I can't make my own choices. And the choices I could, you know, make, I didn't like them. So, you know, so I was really upset. And so one day, I'm about 8 years old, and I'm looking out the window, the only window we got. And we live across the street. We live across the street from a park. And out the window, this day I see over here, there's a group of brown people. And they look really upset. You know, and then there's this other group of brown people, and they look really upset. And they start to come at each other in a very angry and menacing way. And in each group, I see one crazy looking white guy. Dude looks a little bit country, a little bit hood, and completely unhinged. And that's when I knew. That is when I knew at the tender age of 8 that someday I was going to turn my life around. Someday, when I grew up, I was going to join a gang. Yeah. I needed to join a gang. I had to, man. I had to, like, you know, get some respect. I needed some love. I needed to join something that I belonged in. So I started searching high and low for a gang. 8 years old, I was looking for a gang anywhere I could find one. So I started the first place I could think of. I went to the local library. Turns out they didn't have any new recruits, but I did get a library card, so that worked out. Then, you know, the next place I thought of, Salvation Army. Turns out it's not a real army. False advertising. Yeah. You know? Finally, I found what I was looking for after searching high and low for what seemed like forever. I finally found a gang to join. And I wasn't going to be the token white guy. I was going to be the token boy. I joined a gang of all girls, and man, they were fierce. Ooh, baby, they were fierce. Yeah, they called themselves Blood. Blood of the Lamb Ecclesiastical Singers. I accidentally joined the church choir. Yeah. But, you know, I wasn't too bright as a kid. You know, I wasn't too bright. And, you know, to be fair, I think the stupidity was genetic. I do. You know, I have a brother who's 5 years younger than me, and his name is Jacob. His initials are JMR, Jacob. And so one day when he was about 7, he sat the whole family down and he said, listen, everybody, my initials are JMR. And because of that, I no longer want to be called Jacob. I want to be called Jamar. JMR. I was like, Jamar? I'm not calling you Jamar, you clueless, culturally appropriating ditz. What's wrong with you? Later that week, he told the whole family that when he grew up, he wanted to be a famous Indian and make license plates. Famous Indian, make license plates. Dude, I think there's a guy in rural Oklahoma already doing that. You know? And, you know, my mom said, be quiet. Let him dream as big as he wants. I said, Mom, as big as he wants? I was like, I wanted to be a football player, actor, astronaut, and you and Dad laughed at me. She was like, yeah, because that's not in our DNA. That's not in our genetics. But what you do got is you got an uncle in prison, and you got a cousin who married a woman who's half Cherokee. So those are your DNA. Those are in your genetics. I was like, fine, okay, sure. And then she pointed to him off in the distance, which in a one-bedroom apartment is like 3 feet away. And she said, besides, look how happy he is. And I said, Mom, he's drooling and spinning in circles and chasing his own shoelaces. And she said, yes, and he's so good at it. A little wistful sigh in there, too. So we let him believe whatever he wanted. We let him believe they could be, you know, whatever he wanted until about age 9 when he started taking on semi-racist Native American names, like Chief loves Jesus with all his heart. I was like, this doesn't feel good to me. I don't know if this is okay. And like, what language would that translate to, Jacob? You know, and so when he found out he couldn't be a famous Indian, he got really upset. He got super upset. And so I had to calm him down. I told him, dude, don't worry about it. You're already famous. He was like, what, really? I was like, yes, you are the person who Pinocchio is based on. that's you, bro. He's like, oh my gosh, no way. I was like, yeah, dude. Why do you think you're always getting splinters? Now, he didn't put two and two together. Like I said, we lived in the hood. We didn't have a nice apartment, and so the wood floors would splinter into your feet. So, of course, you know. And but he didn't see that. He just saw it as divine proof, man. He was desperate. Well, that lasted for about a month. He believed that for about a month until one day he got super upset at my dad for yelling at him. So he screamed back and asked my dad that he, if he would turn him back into a wooden doll. My dad freaked out because he thought his son was turning transgender. He's like, I don't think you know what that means, Dad. But my dad, man, yeah, he was an inconsistent dad. He was. It's okay. He knows. But he was also a homophobe, which kind of sucks. Not cool living around that kind of energy. But he was an inconsistent homophobe, which is, kind of on par for the course with this guy. And so, case in point, all right, so when I was about 5 years old, I really wanted to own a Cabbage Patch doll. I wanted one so badly because my sister was a year older, and she had one, and I wanted to do what she did, But my dad wouldn't let me because he thought it would turn me gay. Whatever. And, but off the books, legit, like I kind of wanted a Cabbage Patch doll till about 14. I did. Reason being was all the kids in my neighborhood had real kids, and, I'm highly susceptible to peer pressure, a little bit dumb. I just wanted to prep to be a teen dad, But my dad wouldn't let me. But he would let me participate in the manly and macho activity of cross-stitching. Yes. When I was in the 3rd and 4th grades, I took on cross-stitching as a hobby, and I was really good at it. Like, it was my jam. Like, I was making doilies and Christmas ornaments. I made this when I was 9 years old. That's why I brought this with me. I made that when I was 9 years old. This little Noel trumpet, all that business. So intricate. Lots of scars. Yeah, I made that, for sure. I know. It's lovely. So, I was much better at that than trying to own a doll or trying to be gay, Well, all right. So I wanted to spite my dad, and I was like, I can make my own choices. I can be as gay as I want to be. Turns out that's not one of those things you can speak into existence. Didn't know that, though. I was a little dumb kid, right? So, so my dad was inconsistent and all that. And so here's the thing, right? So, getting the cross-stitch and all that, all right, so when I was in my early 20s, I was working at a restaurant. I was a food runner, which means I worked in front and back of house. I was back, I was between both. It was a fancy restaurant in New York City. And so usually I would hang in the back with the line cooks. And of the 12 line cooks we had, 10 were Hispanic, one was Nigerian from Africa, and one was an old microwave. And a microwave was a cook, some of y'all know. And on this particular day, it was a slow day, and so I was in the back talking to the line cooks, and we're like talking about our childhoods. And so this one guy starts talking about how when he was a kid, he had a pet rooster, but he was like, I had a pet cock, and the cock would win a lot of money in cockfights where he grew up, and the cock was his friend. It was a good friend, and it was kind of weird because he didn't know the word for rooster, right? So he's like He was talking about his cock in glowing terms. Now, I knew the word for rooster, but I withheld that information because I had the humor of a 3rd grader. So he starts talking about his cock, like how it was big and feisty and pecked a lot, and it was big and dumb, but he still loved it, and he would brush it and feed it, and sometimes at night, he would hold it in his bed, and I was like, you and me both, buddy. And then every now and then, his cock would poop in his bed, which is about the time it stopped being funny, him talking about his cock. And then, here's what got me. So then he says, one day, he went to school, and his dad got hungry, and so he bashed the cock in the head, and killed it, and boiled it, and they had it for dinner that night. And he said it was sad because him and his dad never had had a good relationship ever again, because his dad molested his cock. But, all right, legit, like in Spanish, molestar means to bother. So legitimately, yes, he did molest his cock and then he killed it. Well, me, not to be outdone, I decided to tell the story from my childhood about, I wasn't allowed to own a Cabbage Patch doll, but I was allowed to do cross-stitching. And how all was well that was ended well because I learned a new skill. And then I asked, did anyone else have this kind of experience? And I look around the room, and it's Juan, and Ovidio, and Victor, and Remedios, and Emeka from Nigeria. Even the old microwave. Nothing, crickets. And then Kike speaks up, and he says, Güero. And in case you don't know, Güero means like guy with the light hair, or white guy, or white passing. I don't know, that's a thing. And I'm hoping he's got a cross-stitching story. Ooh, baby, because I'm feeling really exposed. And he says, Güero, nobody had this cross-stitching experience because we were raised as men. And I was like, oh, man, burn. And I got really upset, man. I started to cry, but I didn't want the guys to see it. I didn't want them to see that. I thought, you're macho, right? So I told them my peanut allergy was acting up because that seemed like a believable white guy thing to do. Yeah. But I love those guys. I really did. I really love those guys, man. I think Remedios was my favorite. This guy was awesome, man. He's from Mexico, and his Spanish was his first language, but he was really trying hard to learn English. And so, but he would do so by exploring pop culture phrases. He would do so doing it this way. And I always knew when he figured something new out because he would come into work and he would make a beeline straight towards me. And he'd be like, Güero, only you prevent forest fire. I'm like, dude, you are right. Now put out that lit blunt. We're in the walk-in pantry and boxes of dry pasta are highly flammable. You can prevent work fires too. So, yeah, man, I was working at that restaurant in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s, right when I was getting started in show business. And, as I said, I was a dumb kid. And that kind of bled into my early adulthood, because I was too trusting. That was my problem. I was way too trusting. I was like those weird little kids in major cities, New York, Philly, Los Angeles. Those weird little kids who say hi to everybody. You know what I'm talking about? They say hi to everybody. You might be able to get away with that in like Sedona or Cottonwood. But you can't do that in a major city. It's dangerous. Dangerous for kids. It's dangerous for adults. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know if that person is, Jehovah's Witness. No, Jeff, I don't want to hear the good news. You don't know if that person is in a gang. Or in my case, the church choir. And I always noticed that these kids, man, these little kids that say hi to everybody, man, they're little white kids, flaunting their privilege because they think they're cute. But if I can't say hi to everyone, then neither can you, little Crispix with an X. Sorry, pal. I want to be trusting. I really do. I want to be more trusting, but I can't. I can't because when I was 19, I went on a weird audition. It was a life-changing audition. It kind of, suppressed my trust in humanity for a little while. This was in the early 2000s, back when you could still find some acting work on a little site called Craigslist. Yeah, Craigslist. So one day I'm looking through Craigslist for some acting work, and I'm scrolling, and I see a film that is auditioning in New Jersey, which is where I live, auditioning in New Jersey, filming in New Jersey, and pays a couple $1,000s. Ooh, baby, sweet. I'd never seen money like this in my entire life. Ooh. So I see an email, and I submit a headshot, an acting resume, and I play the waiting game. Well, not more than 10 minutes later, I get a call from a gentleman who says he is the writer/casting director of this film. Now, I don't know about y'all, but if you know anything about film or auditioning or acting or TV or whatever, 10 minutes is an abnormally short period of time to wait to hear back. Hell, like 10 days is in some cases an abnormally short period to wait. But, so this guy's on the phone. He sounds like he's in his mid-30s or 40s, something like that. And he says that we're going to audition. The audition is going to take place at a train station near his mother's house. Right. So, there's at least one thing about that sentence that should have thrown me off a little bit. Should have been a little bit of a red flag. Audition at a train station near his mother's house. What do you think? What part of that sentence kind of freaks you out? What do you think? Mother's house? Everybody says mother's house. Thank you, train station. So for me, a lot of people say mother's house, not me, because I was 19. I lived at my mom's house a couple months ago. I was like, I don't know, people live at their mom's house. No, it should have been the train station. That's the thing, right? So, all right, if y'all have ever been an actor at some point, an audition is like a job interview. Many of you have been on job interviews. And so the only job interview I think that should take place at a train station should be for conductor or the person who takes your tickets. Or if, you're in a bougie train station, the person that fixes the water fountains, you might have a water fountain. Amazing. But no, didn't know this. Was kind of a dumb kid, as I said. Was basically born yesterday at that point. Still wiping the placenta off my cheeks. Ew, gross. I never heard of that. So later in the week, I met up with this guy at the train station, and his voice is a little higher pitched than I remember. It kind of sounds like a mix of Snoop Dogg with Michael Jackson and the creepy guy that hangs out down by the elementary school. You know what I'm talking about. And he's wearing a mullet. Now, unless you're a minor league hockey player, anybody after wearing a mullet after 1995 should probably not be trusted. Business in the front, party in the back. I shouldn't have to choose. Again, didn't know this stuff, didn't know it, was sheltered. So then he says, we're going to take a ride to nearby Hoppetkong Park. We're going to take a ride to nearby Hoppetkong Park where we're going to film the movie. Now, at the time, I didn't know it wasn't a park, but a forest. Because, as I said, I'm from the hood. So a park to me is a few slides, a couple of broken swings, and a guy named Moneybags who sells weed and a bunch of weird stuff to adults and some half-open candy to kids. Holy shit, I'm choking. This is the best time. So I thought, maybe me and this guy were going to chat, by the rusted over monkey bars, and maybe some guy was going to come by and try to sell me the now part of an hour later candy. That's not what happened. So we get to the forest, and he starts to tell me that the film is going to have a bunch of professional wrestlers in it, like wrestlers in what was then known as WWF, now known as WWE. Right? So side note, I thought about this recently. WWF, World Wildlife Fund, they messed this one up. They could have been WWE. They could have been World Wildlife Entertainment, man. There's so many directions you can go in. Be so dope. Educational videos. Also, did you know there's such thing as panda porn? I'm serious. I kid you not. It's for pandas and it's not actually by pandas because they don't have opposable thumbs. They can't hold cameras and all that. But no, legit, there's like really panda porn. I'm kidding. I'm not joking, yo. I mean, I am joking, but I'm not joking. So here's the thing, right? Pandas have a hard time conceiving. And so they create this dirty panda porn to get them in the mood, right? Dirty panda panties parts 2 and 3, I'm just trying to drop some knowledge, some trivia on you, during a comedy show, man. Trying to help you out in case you ever get on Jeopardy. So me and the writer-director Creeper are getting deeper into the woods, and I see off in the distance, and it's still pretty light out, but the canopy above is getting thicker and thicker, and it's making it harder and harder to see. And then he says, the film takes place in a post-apocalyptic New Jersey. Now, if you know New Jersey like I do, because that's where I'm from, you would know that it's already post-apocalyptic. But then he stops walking, he plants his feet, he pivots and turns to me and he says, now Josh, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get out, here's what I'm going to do. Your role is the role of a half man, half monkey who runs the prison that holds the wrestlers and then goes crazy because he loves the taste of human flesh. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get on the ground on my back and lay down, and you're going to get on top of me and pretend you're gnawing away at my face and ripping away my body parts, and you got to be convincing. Now this is when the red flags started to appear. Something about this did not seem safe. What if this guy had a cold? I didn't want to get my roommate sick when I got home. So, so then I asked him, I did what I had to, but I asked, I think what any actor would ask in that situation, can I just do a Shakespearean monologue? Pause. His eye starts twitching. This guy is my guide and my ride out of here. I got to think fast. What am I going to do that's going to appease him or help me get myself out of here safely? So I start to think back to my days in the gang. Maybe I could fight him off with a beautiful aria. I could start singing for no reason, just freak him out. Well, he broke me out of my idiotic stupor within about a split second, practically screaming, "No, it has to be this!" And his anger was rising, which was both scary and hilarious. So I did what I had to do. I did what I had to do because I wanted to be in a film with wrestlers. So I got on the ground in a push-up position and got on top of him and pretended to gnaw at his face and rip away his body parts. Now in that moment, I was a little bit more like, my ferocity was a little bit more like, Cats the musical than Uncle Scar from The Lion King. But he seemed to like it, However, on our way back to the car, he was very quiet, which, kind of made me feel weird. It made me feel a little dirty, Like, does he like me? Does he not like me? Do I need to test for STDs or airborne illnesses? Like, I don't know. And then when we got back to the car, he said, oh, before we go to the train, we're going to stop at a place called Friendly's for ice cream for some rocky road. I was like, ooh, wow, that sounds nice. Okay. And then he, it was a short trip. Then he took me back to the train station, which was still apparently near his mother's house. Never found that one out. And then he said, I'm going to call you again soon. Awesome. Well, I get on the train, and I turn around, and I realize I forgot to ask him the names of the wrestlers who are going to be in the film. Macho Man Randy Savage. Like, that's the only guy I knew. So after a few moments of, fantasizing about snapping, Macho Man in half like a Slim Jim, I realized that guy was never going to call me again. And he never did. And I'm pretty sure that film never got made. Now, is it because I was never officially attached to it? I'm going to say probably. Yeah. Because I would have made an Oscar-worthy cannibalistic half man, half monkey. I'm just saying. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the story of my first love. Acting, people. Jesus. Okay. But no, speaking of love, I am dating. I'm doing my best. I'm out in these streets, doing what I can. I'm trying hard. It's okay. It's going all right. Nothing serious. I'm doing the apps, the online thing. Things online are refreshingly mediocre. No, it's all right. The almost instant gratification of swiping left and right. But after a while, some of these profiles start to look very, very similar, which makes you wonder, did all these women get together and decide this is how we're going to approach this thing? We're all going to take a selfie in the same sunflower field, A third or more of our pictures are going to be with the Snapchat dog face filter on. Come on, Madeline, come on, Shanice. I don't have the life skills or the discernment to tell whether or not you're a half person, half dog. I'm still wiping the dumb off of my sheltered childhood. This is hard enough for me. Yeah. So recently, I went on a date with a young lady, a woman, and she said, "Oh my God, Josh, we're going to get along so great if you can handle my wit and my sarcasm." I was like, baby, I got you. I got you. I can handle your wit and sarcasm as long as you can handle never being good enough for me. Needless to say, I was able to handle her wit and sarcasm, but not a chance for another date. But that sarcasm thing, man, that's like another one of those, this is how we're all going to approach this thing. I see a lot of young ladies on there, and on their profiles, they say, I'm fluent in sarcasm, as if it's a language, which kind of makes me wonder, do y'all know what sarcasm means? Because by definition, sarcasm means the use of irony to mock or to convey contempt. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to, have somebody conveying contempt toward me all the time, I didn't get into comedy because I had a good childhood, I thought I was done with contempt after the age of 18, I'm not coming back to it on purpose. But Molly's pretty cute, has a nice butt, so I'm going to put up with her constant contempt. No, not doing that. I'm not doing that, So, and I got to wonder too, because a lot of these young ladies, they put on their profile that someday they want to be a mother, right? They want to have kids someday. And it makes me wonder, do you think those kids are going to appreciate your sarcasm as much as you think everyone else does? And I start to picture the conversations with their kids in my head, Mommy, can I have a sippy cup? I don't know, Timmy, can you? Mommy, I got made fun of in school today. Well, sweetheart, you had it coming. Burn! Sarcasm is a language. I don't know, not exactly nurturing motherhood material. Yeah. And the last thing that I've been noticing recently on these profiles is, no other pictures but the isolated booby shot. It's the isolated booby shot. It's the clothed photo of the boobs, which is cool. It's all right. Don't get me wrong. I like a nice boobie, I'll take two if you got them, I'll get with a woman who's only got one boob, man, just to prove that I'm woke. You know what I mean? But here's the thing. Good sex and a good relationship does not hinge entirely on your boobie game. I need more. I need a face. I need a smile. Preferably no penis and no beard. It's actually a hard no for me. You know, cyclop boob woman, yes. Penis and beard, I got a little more personal growth to do, you know. Yeah, but here's the thing, like if all you're doing is showing a clothed photo of your boobs, you know, I got a lot of questions that I'm probably not allowed to ask. Such as, you know, what is the size of your 401k? Are you a registered voter? You know? Are you and your boobies the same age? Or are said boobies a new addition to the family, as it were? I don't know. I got questions, man. I got questions. Wokeness, man. Speaking of wokeness, so I was thinking about cultural appropriation, as it were, as one does, you know, in my small hours of the night. And I was thinking about how we don't get on everyone about everything, and we probably should. Right? We probably should just even the game out. Like, we know about Pocahontas or Halloween. Don't do it. It's not cute. There's a million reasons why. That's not the point of tonight. But if you want to talk about it later, we can do that. You know, I don't know why we're still talking about blackface. Like, stop doing it. I got a solution. You know, Halloween's October 31 or 30, whatever. October 1, we stop selling black paint in all its forms everywhere. All of it. You know, we might even have to stop selling number 2 pencils, maybe. I don't know. But here's the thing. You know what I want to come after? You know who I got in my sights? The Mario Brothers. The Mario Brothers. When are people going to come after those guys, man? A bunch of Japanese people making billions of dollars on 2 stereotypical Italian men with funny accents who are plumbers and who take mushroom steroids to get bigger. You know? Not exactly the guys I would want representing my culture, you know? First you got Columbus, then Mussolini, now these guys. Not cool. And why aren't the French coming after Pepe Le Pew, man? You got this pervy skunk who's not down with consent, you know, didn't know how to take no for an answer, man. Is always going after that cat, man. He was the OG of grabbing by the pussy. He was, man. You know? And if I were the French, man, I would not want the stinkiest and rapiest creature in the animal kingdom, you know, represent my culture. Nah, man. Nah. Wokeness, man. Wokeness. I have an uncle, a really, like, weird uncle. Like, he's in his mid-50s. And Uncle Bob, pretty nondescript, but he's racist, man. He's real racist, and I can't handle it, man. I can't handle it. But here's the thing. Like, I think he might be senile because, like, he's so racist, like, it defies all sense of time and logic, you know, like, and he's like his racism doesn't make sense to me, but it still seems very offensive. So I got to take, like, offense to it, you know? And he's like the guy that gets invited to all the holiday parties with family because nobody can read the room. Somebody in the family can, at least. And, like, this guy's making everyone uncomfortable. So, you know, so this guy's, like, really jacked up. Like, I don't get him, but he, you know, recently pulls me aside. He's like, hey, Joshy. I'm like, oh, Christ, Uncle Bob, here we go. He's like, Joshy, those Catholics, huh? Those Catholics. They can't drive, but they can sure do math. And I was like, Uncle Bob, what? Catholics, what? I was like, no, listen, Uncle Bob, Catholic is not a term that you use for a person. It's only for rugs and medicine, dude. You know, come on, bro. Get with it. He's like, yeah, you know, but don't get me started on those loudmouth marsupials, huh? Coming to this country, don't learn the language, won't get a job. It's like, geez, Bob, I don't know what you're talking about. That sounds really offensive. He's, yeah, and don't get me started on that transgender Optimus Prime. Transformer? Dude, really? He's like, no, Bob, listen, man. I got trans friends, and that is offensive. Also, it's a Tuesday morning in the middle of May. It's not a holiday. What are you doing here? He's like, irregardless. No, Uncle Bob, irregardless is not a word. Learn the language, get a job, and stop being a loudmouth marsupial. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. I'm Josh Rivedal. Y'all are the best marsupials I've ever met. Best marsupials. Thank you.